This video takes place over the course of a week as I'm introducing my horse Valerie to the dressage saddle, pad, and girth. As you can see, I started by just throwing this beat up old saddle out in the pasture while I was mucking so she could get used to it. It's obviously very weird to her. Here she is learning that, with a very grumpy expression, that saddles are fun and taste good. I'd already introduced her a few weeks ago to the dressage pad, which she found a lot of fun and threw it all over the pasture. Here I am getting her used to the sounds and movement of this saddle. Don't worry, no saddles were harmed in the making of this video. This saddle is already quite beat up and old and has a broken tree, so I will never be using it to ride. But I wanted something that was safe for her to explore, and I really didn't care if it got more damaged or lots and lots of horse drool on it.
It's super windy and really noisy, and it's feeding time, so I'm really proud of how brave she's being.
In case you didn't catch that, I was explaining how windy it was this day. Also, I was working with Valerie right in the middle of feeding time, and she didn't have her hay yet she was being very calm and very attentive and very curious, so I was very proud of her attention. Sometimes I rewatch these videos and I'm astounded at how boring they are. Positive reinforcement makes things a lot easier and a lot safer, even if it's not that exciting to watch. Remember, Valerie is very green. She was once a wild Mustang, still Mustang. She'd had a Western saddle on her maybe 3 times with a previous owner, but that was years ago. And this is a new context. This is a new type of saddle, new smells, new person. Everything's new and different. So I'm quite proud of how she's sticking with me. I've taught Valerie a consent cue with different kinds of equipment or things like fly spray. If she touches the item, then she's saying, okay, I'm ready to engage with this again. So here she's saying, okay, I'm still interested in this saddle situation. This is obviously another day. Obviously my hair is a little bit less crazy than the previous one. I'm also always surprised at how bad my hair looks and I don't even notice. On this day we were reviewing the weird saddle sounds and movements, and this is the first day that I actually put it up on her back. She was absolutely unfazed. Here she is staring at her imaginary friends, as I call the invisible deer, I guess, I don't know, that she sees in the field next door. Here I am getting her used to the saddle touching her, especially in weird spots, because you never know when, as a horse is being tacked up, they might get bumped, and I don't want her to freak out, especially when we're doing this in cross ties. There Valerie is either reaching back because maybe the billets are tickling her, or she thinks I want her to target the saddle, which is understandable considering how much practice we've had with targeting.
You are not fazed. Good for her.
Obviously, I don't advocate for pushing a horse's hair backwards or putting the saddle over their withers or neck, but I want her to be calm and curious and not reactive if those things ever happen while being tacked up. Here, I want to see how she'll react if the saddle just straight up falls off. I made sure to do it on the near side, so if she did react, she'd jump away from me and not into me, and obviously she reacted absolutely minimally. Here's a different day. We're working with the saddle pad. Again, she had a little practice playing with this while I was mucking one day, and I put it up on her back. Again, unfazed. I'm not sure why her ears are back this day. She could have been uncomfortable, but she's also aiming her ears towards the field where her invisible friends live, so she could just be listening for that. She was very engaged and calm, but obviously I don't want her to have that uncomfortable expression all the time. Here I'm going to her other side to work from the off side. I want to be able to tack up Valerie from the right or the left side and have her not fuss about it at all. Here I am reintroducing the saddle, flapping it around a little bit. She's saying, okay, I see it. Let's do it. I want Valerie to understand that when tacking up, truly all that is asked of her is that she stand still, calmly, and wait for some actual cues. She's doing a great job of that, even at Liberty. When I'm working with Valerie, I try not to be too slow and deliberate. I don't want to be so precious with her that she isn't used to more abrupt, efficient movements. Here, where I'm making sure that the pad is tucked up into the gullet of the saddle, I don't want to feel like I need to be so careful that with her that if anything abrupt happens, she gets spooky. I'm not a super slow, gradual person. I tend to move more jerkily and abruptly, and she's gotten used to that, which I think bodes well for her ability to work with other people. Here, if you missed that, I was explaining once again that this saddle already has a twisted tree. I will not be riding in it. It clearly does not fit her well, but I wanted to use a beat-up saddle for saddle training, so I didn't have to worry about breaking another saddle. Here we are adding the girth. She's never used this girth before, and it was last used with one of her pasture mates, so it smells like one of her frenemies. So hopefully that helped her comfort level. I often just ask Valerie to touch things. That helps me gauge her emotional reaction to new things. Also, I know that horses' sense of smell is almost as good as dogs, or even better, so I always try and give her a good chance to sniff things, maybe lip at them. Here she's like, oh, you want me to target again? Just so she can gain confidence and wrap her head around what these objects are before I start putting them on her. Again, of course I'd like her expression to be a lot more cheerful. She looks very dubious or uncomfortable here, but she keeps giving me keep going signals. She's not walking away. She could just walk away and end the session, but I continue here because she seems to be choosing to be with me. Here I'll be doing a lot of desensitizing with the girth and rewarding her lack of reaction. I want her to stay standing even if the girth bumps her legs or swings and hits her belly, because those things happen. Again, I don't want to be so concerned about being slow and deliberate that she can't handle the occasional mistake or strange bump. I want her to respond more curiously. She's doing a great job. I didn't think she'd like the girth rubbing up against her belly and her legs. Maybe she doesn't, but she's clearly saying, okay, I can do this. Another thing that tells me her stress levels aren't too high is that she continues to chew even as I'm walking around doing all these weird things. When I first got her, she was very much a like freeze kind of horse. She would have a mouthful of food and just freeze and hold it for minutes on end while she stared at something or fixated. So the fact that she's chewing tells me that she's fairly comfortable, which is a really good sign now that I know Valerie pretty well. Again, this is all just super, super boring. If you're still watching this, I'm amazed. Here she is targeting the girth. I think she thinks that's still the answer because I clicked and treated her for touching those pieces of equipment earlier, but obviously we'll need to extinguish that behavior once we get to some more ridden work. Oh, there she goes again. Here I'm making sure the girth is just tight enough to hold the saddle on, not tight enough for a rider yet, but I'm trying to avoid creating a girthy horse because it's not a personality trait, it just means they're in pain.
Very good.
Seeing how she feels about me adjusting it while she's wearing it, mild interest.
That's okay. You can't always do that.
And finally, we're adding in some movement. Just starting with walking at first. She has a pretty strong foundation with Liberty leading, so she knows when I walk off, she should be at my shoulder. She's a little bit slower today, but I just wanted her to get the feel of the saddle while moving, the feeling of the girth around her barrel while she's walking, and she's doing quite well. Here we're going to add in a little bit of trot. I wanted her to feel it while it's flapping a little bit. There she thinks, I don't know, itching or targeting.
You can do it. Good girl. Ready? Trot.
Here's a little awkward trot. I rewarded the smallest effort because it's a new context and it's a little bit more strange than her usual Liberty leading at trot with the saddle. Eventually I'll add some stirrups so she can get used to things flapping against her sides, maybe a little bit of noise later on, but for now, this feels like a success. The most drama-free saddle starting I could have hoped for. She's a really good girl.